Greetings, you sprouting Thrynaxes. My name is Jason, and I'm going to open up some Magic the Gathering near a logo of LRMTG. It's a parody opening. I've been watching a bunch of LRMTG crack-a-packs lately, and I had some Magic stuff show up in the mail. So, thought I'd have a little bit of fun with the intro. Anyway, I'm going to slide this in. I'm going to need to set up kind of what it is I'm opening to some degree here, because I have one thing that is specifically nostalgic to me, and then one thing that was just a weird thing that Card Kingdom, it's not very close to the camera, is it? Yoink. Card Kingdom, who does not sponsor this show in any way, shape, or form, had as a product on their website. And God damn it. Oh, these are not environmental. I forgot what they're called. Popcorn? Something popcorn? Styrofoam popcorn? Anyway. Ooh, here we go. So I have two things here. I should just be the two things. Yep. Oh, right. One of the things comes with a booster pack. Although it's in 15 Estampas Ilustradas. Cidade das Guildas. So, Spanish? Unless I'm misunderstanding. And then, so this product that I purchased is kind of a, blind box thing that Card Kingdom offers. This is the Silver Dragon's Horde, I believe. They didn't have any Gold Dragon Hordes in stock. So, we'll go on to that in a little bit. The thing I mostly was interested in was they were having a sale. And one of the things in that sale was this. 75 additional cards for Shards of Alara. This is, does it say anywhere on the box? Oh, 75, because it's 45 with 30 basic lands. Oh, yep, there it is. It is a tournament pack. I love these, and I deeply wish the Magic the Gathering would do this again. These are basically just big fat-ass booster packs with 30 basic lands included. This was how I bought a lot of my Magic cards as a kid. It wasn't through individual boosters, it was through these so-called tournament packs. It's random. 45 randomly inserted game cards. It's not like a pre-con or something. I love these. And the Alara block is my favorite block in Magic. I love gold cards. I have a commander deck that is like, it's not all made out of Alara specifically, but it's very much, the heart of it is Alaran, as it were. But so, I was getting this and that, and I decided, I've said in previous, like 2 videos ago, I really love opening things on camera. Now, so your grandma always opens them right next to the microphone on their show that I'm not ripping them off specifically just by opening Magic cards on the internet, but the show I parodied the opening for. What was I starting to say? Right, I didn't play like limited. I don't really play like draft or limited much at all with Magic the Gathering, even though I'd like to, but I'm absolutely shit at it. So I'm not going to be able to comment on the cards in terms of, I'm going to try to comment on the cards in terms of if I think they might be good at limited or not, but it'll all just be conjecture on my part. I believe, what was it? I believe the layout is 33 commons, 7 no, it's got to be more than... I can't remember. There's only like 3 rares, I think, per box, per tournament pack. So, and I have no idea what order they're in either. There we go. Ooh, well, we'll get to that in this. Ooh. Yeah, man. We're gonna just separate those lands out, because of course I don't need to go through the basic freaking lands. Oh, hey, look at this. Okay, so there's the lands. Is it just every color? Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. One of my favorite lands, one of my favorite basic lands. The Esper, chopped up friggin' clouds and like grid sky. Love that. Love that. I'm sure I have like bunches of copies of all of these lands elsewhere in the other, because I bought so much Alara back in the day. Let's see here. Oh, it's a rules insert. Gotcha. Oh, yeah, Johnny Vengeant is from this set. Who knows? Maybe we'll draw him. I already have a copy, but 5 worlds share one fate. Ah, yes. This is where we get... These are the names of the tricolor, the allied tricolor identities that stuck. There had been some before, but it didn't really take with the community. But with Alara block, these 5 shards became how we even refer to tricolors as shards, and then wedges from Khans of Tarkir, which I think is neat. And yes, there's a little bit of cycling in this set as well. Anything... nothing special on the back. All right. Let's just get to those cards that... You always feel like you never wrap up one of these things right, so it always just poofs up forever. All right, whatever. Let's go through 45 freaking cards. I'm not going to comment, like I said, in detail too much for a variety of reasons. Although I don't mind a video like this being long, because I don't fucking care about the algorithm. So, it's gonna be struggling with holding cards up to the camera, though. Dreg Reaver, 4 and a black for a 4/3 zombie beast. That's it. A 5 mana 4/3. I don't think that's even necessarily good and limited, honestly. What's next? Oh, gold cards. My favorite kind of cards in Magic. There's a variety of reasons, but I just... The 5 colors of Magic is a really genius concept in how flexible it was. But to me, multicolored cards, or what I call gold cards, are like the pinnacle of what makes the 5 colors of Magic so good. Here we have Sigil Blessing. Green and a white instant until end of turn. Target creature you control gets +3/+3, and other creatures you control get +1/+1. That actually does seem decent in a limited environment for only 2 mana. And of course, in the green-white colors, green-white generally known as Selesnya, generally likes to go kind of big and wide simultaneously, because the green likes to go tall and white likes to go wide. Whoop! Druid of the Anima. Ah! A simple mana dork, a 1 and a green for a 1/1 elf druid, and you can tap to add one of the Naya colors, red, green, or white, to your mana pool. I have to imagine that was perfectly acceptable. If you were drafting, I would imagine that you would have taken basically any fixing you could get so that you could play the stronger gold cards. Ridge Ranit, 5 red for a 6/4 beast, which is not amazing. Low toughness in particular, although it is more than 3. I don't think Lightning Bolt was necessarily in standard at the time, but it has cycling for 2 generic, not 1 generic, which was a bad idea. They found out the hard way, but 2 generic, you could just discard this, draw a card. Sometimes you took something like that because you really only wanted the cycling to thin your deck, but if you really needed it, you could put a big body on the board. In like draft limited environments, that can win games. So Here's another big body card. We've got Steel-Clad Serpent, 5 and a blue for a 4/5 Serpent artifact, and it can't attack unless you control another artifact. That was a vague sub-theme of Esper, which was the blue, white, black, and the artifact-themed shard. They had cards that, you know, either you had to have other artifacts to get their full strength, or they got benefits from you having other artifacts. Interestingly, Esper and Naya of the 5 shards they didn't get keywords during the Alara block. The other 3 did. Bant got Exalted, which is super good. Grixis got Unearth, which is also pretty fucking good. And Jund got Devour, which wasn't amazing, but, you know, there's some good Devour monsters in there. It's not a worthless keyword or anything like that. But then, yeah, Esper was just Artifacts Matter, and Naya was Power 5 or greater matters. It just synergized with big stuff. And then Cascade was like the plain mechanic, and it was too good. So they started using it just anywhere else as well, because Cascade's really fucking good. Excommunicate. 2 and a white for a sorcery. Put target creature on top of its owner's library. Weird white removal. Not the best. I think you'd prefer, for 3 mana, you'd prefer some variation of a Swords to Plowshares. Just a full exile, not a spin to the top of the deck. Although, depending on what it was, I suppose you could gum up their next turn by ensuring they weren't getting a different card. Whoop. Bane Wasp Affliction, 1 and a black for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature, well, that's what aura means. When enchant creature is put into a graveyard, that creature's controller loses life equal to its toughness. That's, I've never been so sure about those sorts of auras where the intention is to put it on an enemy's creature, kill the creature somehow, and then it's even worse for the opponent. I think you probably wouldn't pick that too highly, because you would want something that impacts the board itself, rather than requiring you to then do something else. Jungle Weaver, 5 green for a 5/6 spider with reach. You know, that's not terrible. Cycling too. So I was going to say that's the same cost as the Ridge Rannet, but I was going to say that their power toughnesses are swapped around, but they're not. The Jungle Weaver actually has 1 more stat across the board. And that reach, where Ridge Rannet didn't have anything. You'd think Ridge Rannet being red would have had, like, haste or something, but oh well. Yeah, Jungle Weaver's probably all right. That reach in particular makes it just, you know, a little bit better than Ridge Rannet, and, you know, you can just cycle it away. Hissing Iguaner. All the arts, I haven't commented on, like, say, the art or anything, but all these cards visually are extremely nostalgic to me. 2 and a red for a 3/1 lizard. Whenever another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may have Hissing Iguaner deal 1 damage to target player. So any other creature, not just yours. That's nice. 1 toughness. It dies to basically anything, which isn't amazing. But yeah, that definitely says to me, like, that's a card you'll pick in the middle of a draft. Not terrible. It's not the most amazing payoff for things dying, but Vectis Silencers, 2 and a blue for a 1/2 artifact human rogue. You can then pay 2 and a black to give it Death Touch until end of turn. That's always, you know, not amazing. That's really expensive. A 3 mana 1/2 is not a great rate, and then 3 more mana to give it Death Touch isn't fantastic, but it's one of those sorts of things, I suppose. You kind of hope maybe your opponent forgets and you just leave up some mana and then hopefully trade favorably with something really big of theirs. Ooh, I like this one. Resounding Silence. 3 and a white for an instant. Remove target attacking creature from the game. I'm going to comment on that alone in just a second. But then it has an absurd 8 mana cycling cost. For 5 and full Bant colors. However, when you cycle it, you remove up to 2 target attacking creatures from the game. So this is an entire cycle. There's one of these in each color called Resounding something for each of them. Resounding Wave, I think, is the blue one. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. They all have a relatively mundane effect. Well, I say mundane. I've always thought that the whites punishing people for attacking was a very underrated effect in Magic. You don't really ever see people doing that too much. Yet it's like, it's just like a free exile in a lot of situations, and especially in like a limited environment, people have to attack, right? So leaving up 8 mana, however, that's a big ask for that cycle. And it's like fairly specific because, then they have to be attacking you with at least 2 things. But yeah, all the resounding cards have really big cycling. I think they're all 8 mana, 5, and then they're shard colors. But you get a more powerful version of whatever the base effect is. Whoop! Gust Rider Exuberant. With exuberance now. 2 and a white for a 1/2 human wizard with flying. Sacrifice it. Creatures you control with power 5 or greater gain flying till end of turn. That seems alright. A 3 mana flying 1/2 is maybe not like the greatest rate going, although at this point in time, Alara is a relatively old set. And sometimes you just need a flyer, especially in limited. But then sacrificing it so that all your power 5 or greater monsters can like swing in. That's maybe doesn't come up all the time, but I imagine that's one of those ways that you could sort out a game that way. You could end a game because of that. I like how the only other resounding card I remember the name of is the next one we pulled. Resounding Wave. 2 and a blue for an instant to bounce a target permanent. It is any permanent, though. I'll give it that. Not just a creature. That's cycling cost. And if you cycle it, you can bounce 2 target permanents. I don't think I'd thought about that before. Usually blue bounce cards, it's just bounce a creature. That's target permanent, so that's a little more worth. Because you can get rid of a problem, enchantment or artifact, or you could be really weird and bounce a couple lands. Not sure what you'd accomplish with that, but, you could screw somebody up that way. Magma Spray. 1 red, instant, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would go to the graveyard, exile it instead. That was... What was that? I don't know if this is in relation to that, but I know, they phased out regeneration at some point. And those sorts of effects of if it would die, you exile instead, were meant to get around regeneration. Because even if you regenerate something, it's still technically like dies and would go to the grave, and that's when regeneration would kick in. But so those effects effectively replace the spot where regeneration is supposed to kick in, and they just get exiled instead. Regeneration was slightly confusing because it was actually a rules complicated concept, which is why they kind of stopped using it. Oh shit, Blightning. I do love Blightning. 1 black red for a sorcery, deal 3 damage to target player, and they discard 2 cards. It's literally Hymn to Torak and Lightning Bolt stapled together. I guess Hymn to Torak is black, not 1 black, but it's still, Hymn to Torak is great, and Lightning Bolt's great. Those are both like legendaries. Legendary like cards. They're very, very strong. 3 mana as opposed to the 2 or 1 mana of those separate cards is, not as great, but being able to just dome somebody for 3 and potentially waste their hand out in the middle of a game is not bad, and I love that art. Whoop. Naturalize, a classic, an absolute classic. 1 and a green for an instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment. What do you want to say? Naturalize is absolutely perfect spot removal for those things. I don't think it's the best. I think there is the white one. There is like 1 white for the same effect as enchant. I think that's just 1 white, so it's strictly better, but, whatever. you need a naturalize, you need a naturalize. Oh, hey, Obelisk of Grixis. There were 5 of these a cycle. They're just your usual 3 mana. It sucks, because I love I love that they're specific to each of their shards, but they cost the same as a Manalith, and a Manalith taps for any color, not just one of 3 colors. So I get that this is one of those sorts of things for the limited environment, which just didn't have Manalith in it, presumably. Well, I mean, Manalith wasn't in the Alara block. Or was it in... This is the first part of the block. It was Shards, Conflux, Alara Reborn. Maybe Manalith actually showed up in Alara Reborn? I don't remember. Ooh. Oh, hey, another Resounding card. Resounding Scream. 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target player discards a card at random, which is... it's better than them getting to choose. And if we cycle it for the 8, they have to discard 2 cards. And you also get the cycling effect, I should note. That's part of why that's like... 8 mana is still a lot. But you're both cycling and getting the cycling printed effect as well. So you're drawing a card and they're discarding 2, or you're bouncing 2 permanents, exiling 2 attacking creatures, etc. Bloodthorn Taunter. 1 and a red for a 1/1 human scout, has haste, and you can tap it. Target creature with power 5 or greater gains haste until end of turn. Yep, some more of those Anaya power 5 or greater synergies. I don't know. I'm trying to evaluate these on what if I think they'd be good in a limited environment, and I just... How many power 5 or greater creatures would you be playing in a limited environment to get the most out of the Nyan cards? Here we go. Dragon Fodder. 1 and a red. I believe I want to say that this was the first instance of Dragon Fodder, but then it got reprinted several times because it's just a good... it's just straight up a good... red card for like red aggro decks and red weenie decks. It is 1 and a red for a sorcery. Put 2 1/1 red Gobos into play. Very simple. 2 mana to get 2 bodies on the board, and of course, obviously you would hope for synergies. That's a Jund card specifically. So the synergy is that you would eat the Goblin tokens with a Devour creature. Whoop! Sanctum Gargoyle. I don't remember. Was Alara the first time they did colored artifacts? I feel like that can't be the case, but I can't remember any colored artifacts from, like, Mirrodin. There only would have been 3. No. I almost told a big, smelly lie. I was going to say that only the 3 Esper colors would have done it, but that is completely incorrect. There's a really great equipment from Alara. The Mage Slayer dagger? Something like Mage Slayer knife? And it's literally a red-green artifact equipment. Anyway, Sanctum Gargoyle is not that. Sanctum Gargoyle is a 3 and a white for a 2/3 artifact gargoyle creature with flying. And when it ETBs, you may return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. That seems actually decent. 4 mana for a 2/3 flyer, so you can, if the ground's kind of gummed up, and you get some recursion. Recursion is rarely a bad thing. Ooh, Clan Crasher, we were just talking about. Red-green cards, huh? Red-green for a 2/2 human warrior with haste. Sometimes you just need to put something on the board and run at people into their faces. Tortoise Formation. At sea, the Jessian fleet strikes swiftly and decisively. On land, facing the elite cavalry of Valeron, its marines must rely on more cautious strategies. We got 3 and a blue for an instant. Creatures you control gain Shroud until end of turn. That 4 mana for that effect. It does at least affect all your creatures, but it wouldn't protect them from, say, a board wipe. Since a board wipe, global effects aren't stopped by targeted protection like Shroud or Hexproof. Lush Growth. I believe this is a reprint. This must be. 1 green for an aura. Oh, I was saying earlier that aura means enchant creature. That's wrong. It just means enchant like a single, like a permanent. It means you have to enchant something as opposed to the enchantment being its own thing on the field. It's by itself. Anyway, you enchant a land, and that land is now a mountain forest and a plains, which means you could, tap it for any of those colors. It's color fixing. It's color fixing. Maybe that is a Lauren specific. Ooh, Agony Warp. A blue-black for an instant. Target creature gets -3/-0 until end of turn. And another target creature. Well, it doesn't even have to be a different target creature, but just then target creature gets -3/-0/-3 until end of turn. So you could do two different things. You could do the same thing. Presumably the ceiling for a card like that would be to kill something that has 3 or less toughness while preventing, a different thing that's also attacking you from being able to do too much damage. Cathari Screecher. 2 and blue for a 2/2 bird soldier with flying and unearth. And unearth is you pay the unearth cost and you play the card, I think it's only on creatures, from your graveyard to the battlefield against haste. And then you remove it from the game at the end of that turn, or if it would leave play, because even at that time they were smart enough to realize they couldn't let people just like unearth stuff and then bounce it to their hands. And you can't do it you can only unearth as a sorcery. And yet it's still good because, being able to play stuff, cheat stuff straight out of the graveyard back to the field is just useful. I always wanted to build, I'm not going to end up doing it, but when I was first building a commander deck, one of my first thoughts was to use Cedrus the Traitor King from Alara, whose effect is that all your creature cards in the graveyard now have unearthed for like 2 and a black. And he was just like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to like make this a self-mill with shitloads of big-ass creatures then, so I can just keep, unearthing them on the cheap. Vythian Stinger. 2 and a red for an 0/1 human shaman. It has the tap to deal 1 damage to a creature player. Ping. It's got tap to ping, and it has unearth for 1 and a red. I always thought that was a funny design to unearth your Vythian Stinger just to ping something with it. Attacking with it on its own is meaningless because it has 0 power. Pingers are, you can usually do something with pingers. There's enough creatures in any given format with 1 toughness. Ooh, Gift of the Gargantuan. Graham from Loading Ready Run does not like these sorts of card effects. It is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature and or land. Among them, put them in your hand with the rest in the bottom of your library. I will say this. You can put a creature and a land into your hand with this effect. And not just one or the other. Yeah. He's never given a specific reason. He just doesn't really like that style card where you look at the top so many cards of your deck and then put one thing in your hand or whatever. Is it good? I don't know. I tend to think that that's a decent effect. 3 manas, that's all right. Not the cheapest. 2 mana would have been probably actually legitimately really good, but for 3 mana, that's all right. You can get 2 cards out of it. Especially in a limited environment, I would think that that's a good way to help, craft your hand, I think is the term serious players like to use. Outrider of Jess. Hey, we finally got the Bant keyword. 3 and a blue for a 2/2 human knight. It has Exalted. Exalted is whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for every instance of Exalted you have on the field. So if you have 3 creatures with Exalted and you attack with one of them, that creature gets +3/+3. Exalted is really good, honestly. Exalted can make a deck be very aggro. I actually have a Pauper, a blue-white Pauper deck that's just Exalted, and I put it together, and it immediately just ran circles around the other Pauper deck I had. It's so fast, and all you need is to get like the flyer. into play, and then you just keep attacking every turn. And because you're only attacking with one creature, you're constantly leaving up defenders as well. So Exalted's pretty good. Ooh, another Obelisk. Obelisk. I've noticed we haven't gotten any repeats. I wonder if that's, intentional, is that these packs never have repeats. That'd actually be really nice. 3 mana for an artifact that taps for Naya colors. Again, I already commented on they're just less good manaliths. So, but it is what it is. Oh, hey, I was kind of hoping we'd pull her. Windwright Mage. I kind of hope we pull the creature also that I called you all at the beginning of the video. Sprouting Thrynax. Windwright Mage is... I feel like Windwright Mage today would be seen as... It's not an uncommon, but it would be seen as like a signpost card for like what Esper is. So it's all 3 colors of Esper. So white, blue, black for a 2/2 human wizard with lifelink, and it has flying as long as you have an artifact card in the graveyard. I think that's pretty good. Maybe a 3 mana 2/2 flying lifelink, but it has to be in 3 colors isn't great. Alara was kind of a big fat Timmy set. Lots of stuff was expensive. Things were kind of big. I have to imagine the limited environment was relatively slow. So that probably actually worked out just fine. It becomes evasive, and it becomes evasive for something that's a lot harder to interact with, which is something in your graveyard. And it's gaining you life. I like that card. Oh, hello. It's one of the panoramas. There was a cycle of these. Alara had a lot of cycles, particularly across, if you think about the whole block. But I'm mentioning like a 3rd cycle right now. And there are cycles in sets that I never realized were cycles as I've like done research as an adult. So, Bajoran Panorama is land. Does not come into play tapped, which is nice. You can tap to add 1 colorless, or you can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, and go search for a basic swamp, mountain, or forest. Unfortunately, those come into play tapped, but it's actually, well, I was gonna say, is it a better or worse Evolving Wilds, or is it actually like right in the middle? Is it the same? Is it as good? But you have to have a very specific deck for it, because it comes into play able to tap for colorless mana, which is nice. But you have to pay to sacrifice it, whereas Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, you don't have to, and those can get any of the 5 basic land types, whereas this can only get 3 of them. But I imagine if you're running a Jund deck, I'm sure that's, you'd be fine with it. You'd run it with your Evolving Wilds and your Terramorphic Expanses. Ooh, Sigil Paladin. I like the art on this. I love the aesthetics of the Bant Shard. How did... Spice 8 Rack. Like the Bant Shard is a literal like evangelical cops, but they get a pass because like elephant monks and lion knights are dope to look at. And it's right. They are. The lion knights in particular. I thought that was the Leotaus of that plane. Have they ever brought Leotaus back? They better. Anyway, white. We're into the uncommons now, by the way. This is our first uncommon, which is why this got better all of a sudden, because it's a white for a 2/2 human knight with first strike and exalted. And that is nothing to sneeze at. You got your completely on rate 2 mana 2/2 first striker and exalted. That is, that's just good. Honestly, that is a perfectly good card. Would use. Hey! Before the actual cycling triomes existed, there was the tri-lands, I believe is what people refer to these as, which are just lands that tap for one of the 3 colors of each of the shards. They come into play tapped, because of course they do. But hey, you need that mana fixing. Blood Cultist. I love the idea of Blood Cultist. Don't know how good it would be. but it is 1 black-red for a 1/1 human wizard. It has ping, but only for creatures. However, if a creature dealt damage by Blood Cultist this turn would go to a graveyard, or is put into a graveyard, sorry, put a 1/1 counter on the Blood Cultist. As the quote, to immortality. I don't know if that's actually good. It would die so quickly if somebody wanted to get rid of it. But it certainly makes anything your opponent's playing with 1 toughness a lot less meaningful. And it gets bigger and it gets harder to kill as a result. Hey, Jund Charm. Oh, charm cards are some of the absolute best. This is another cycle, 1 for each shard. Charm cards throughout all of Magic's history have basically always been at least kind of good, if not very good. Just because modality, just the modality of a charm card. Charms, any charm throughout the whole of the game is always whatever for an instant or sorcery. Some of them might be sorceries. And then you get 1 of 3 effects to choose from. In this case, we have pay the Jund colors. For an instant, choose 1, either remove target player's graveyard from the game. There was an interesting amount of graveyard hate in Alara, presumably because they needed to put stuff in to counter Grixis. Famously, the Progenitus relic. That's it. The Progenitus relic, which could just wipe out a graveyard very easily, is in the block. Anyway, or Jund Charm deals 2 damage to each creature, or put 2 1/1 counters on target creature. As with most charms, any one of those effects isn't worth 3 mana in different colors. But when you have that modality and you just being able to use this it makes a charm card live more frequently than other cards would be, because now you have 3 different instances where you might want to use it without having to sacrifice like 3 different card spots in your deck. Whoop! Jund Battle Mage, another cycle. The Battle Mages, like the charms, are actually cycles that have existed in previous sets. I love the Battle Mages. Generally, in Ravnica, they were like guild mages, I think is what they called them there. But it was the same concept. You get a creature, generally a monocolored creature, like Jund Battle Mage, who's a 2 and a red for a 2/2 human shaman. But then he comes with tap abilities where you have to pay the allied colors relative to whatever the card you're looking at is. So in Jund Battle Mage's case, you tap for black, tap, target player loses 1 life, or pay a green. Sorry, I said tap a black. Pay a black. Pay a green, tap to get a 1/1 green sapling creature token. I mean, those are, I don't know that the specificity of target player loses 1 life as opposed to takes 1 damage matters a lot, but, if you need it, you need it. But I think the real winner on that card is paying the green, tapping, and getting a token, right? Just getting a 1/1 token. Scourge Devil, another Unearth card. 4 and a red for a 3/3 Devil. When Scourge Devil comes into play, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn, and then it has Unearth for 2 and a red. Yeah, Unearth costs tended to be cheaper as well than the primary cost of the card, which was likely another facet of why they added the remove it from the game at end of turn, or if it would leave play. That way they prevent people from like bouncing it into their hands or to the tops of their decks or whatever. That seems all right. 5 mana and you get a 1/0 boost to your whole board. Definitely feel better playing that from the graveyard. Behemoth's Herald. Ooh, one of the Herald cards. I always forget the Heralds are in the first set. They're in the Shards block. So this is another cycle, and this is a cycle that summons another different cycle of 5 cards. I believe all the Heralds are 1 mana for 1/1s. This is 1 green for a 1/1 Elf Shaman. But it has pay 2 green, tap, sacrifice a red creature, a green creature, and a white creature, so the Naya colors, and you can search your library for a card named Godsire and put it into play, and then shuffle your library. This is going to sound weird, but this is some of the closest to Yu-Gi-Oh design that I've ever seen on a Magic card. Yu-Gi-Oh being an archetype-based game, their tutors are almost never, like, we have quite a lot of actually universal or like semi-universal tutors in Magic the Gathering. In Yu-Gi-Oh, the tutors are generally, the super majority of them are archetype specific. They can only search up something with like a certain name. The heralds being able to cheat these huge creatures, Godsire is like, it's part of the cycle that the heralds are all a part of, that it's a huge creature. It's a big, it's like an 8/8 trampler for 7 mana. So being able to cheat it early in the game, you know, in theory, you could, if you ran cheap 1 mana creatures, you could get your 3 creatures of the right colors out, pay 3 mana on your 3rd turn, and cheat out of the deck, not out of your hand or the grave, but actually cheat from the deck. This huge 8/8 creature, which Godsire's other ability is that you can tap him to create an 8/8 token. Which is nutty. I don't know if those ever saw use anywhere, though. They seem like they'd be really cool concepts. Cheating these huge creatures out using the heralds, but I don't know, never seen it, and I still haven't done anything with it myself, even though I would love to someday. It would be better. It would be better if it also included cheating from the hand. If you could get the Godsire out of your deck or in your hand. Because, of course, if you have the copy of Godsire in your hand and you're either running only 1 copy or it's a singleton format like Commander or whatever, well, you're just boned, right? You just can't play it. So, next card. Corpse Connoisseur. Love the art on Corpse Connoisseur. Just this, yes. He's a discerning corpse. 4 and a black for a 3/3 zombie wizard. When Corpse Connoisseur comes into play, you may search your library for a creature card, put that card into your graveyard, and if you do, shuffle your library. You know, there's decks that love that. And certainly in Limited, you know, Grixis wanted its stuff in the graveyard for Unearth shenanigans. So the Unearth cost is only 3 and a black, which is only 1 mana cheaper, but this feels like one of the types of ones where you'd actually want to play it, you know, from your hand and then again later from the graveyard to get that effect twice. We're down to 4 cards, and yeah, it looks like the back 3 are the rares. And I already saw what one of them was, and I'm damn. But the last uncommon we have is Kiss of the Amisha. 4 white, blue for a sorcery. Target player gains 7 life and draws 2 cards. It's rather famous in both this and Yu-Gi-Oh, actually, that pure life gain is just not very useful unless you can get a staggering amount of life for a very little investment. Life gain on its own is not amazing. Kiss of the Amisha, letting you draw 2 cards, definitely helps prevent it from sucking really bad. You would never, if this didn't have the card draw, and even if it was only 1 card draw, it would be like completely meaningless as a card. 2 cards and 7 life. In Limited, you could stabilize off of that and replenish your hand a bit. Love the art again. Love the flavor text, though. Once a year, Akrasa holds a joust that draws knights and their leotaus from every nation on Bant. The prize is an Akrasan sigil, but the true reward is the angel's kiss. Yeah, Bant's one of the few times I've ever like really jived with that sort of like an evangelical themed. What is the word I'm shooting for here? Group. That's the faction. That's the word, faction. Okay, we're into our 3 rares, and the first one as far as I'm aware, this is a desired card, and it's a really strong one because it's ad fucking nauseum. Part of many instant win decks, if the setup works. It is 3 black for an instant. Reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Lose life equal to its CMC, or its mana value now. And you may repeat this process any number of times. When the task spilled over into undeath, he stopped calling it his life's work. And yeah, that, again, very evocative art of this like zombie with no hands, but he's got like not pens, but like brushes, like grafted to his stump arms, so he can keep going. Is just, oh yeah, no, it's, and yeah, there's actually an episode of Shuffle Up and Play on Tolarian Community College's channel where they do a game of CEDH rather than normal commander, so competitive EDH, so very high power commander, and the winner won with Ad Nauseam. I did not see what the other 2 rares were, so I'm about to be surprised. I did see that none of them were multicolored, which sucks. Whoop! Goblin Assault! Hey! Does it go well with the Dragon Fodder card from earlier? 2 and a red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 red Goblin with haste into play. Goblin and creatures attack each turn if able. But, you know, you just get a free token. Every time. You just get a free token. I actually have a deck I need to put this in, and I don't know why I wasn't already running one of my copies of Goblin Assault in it. I have an Izzet, so red-blue, Brutaclad deck, commander deck, and it would get around the drawback because I can actually change my tokens into other tokens with that deck. And the last card is Caldera Hellion. 3 red for 3/3 Hellion. Hey, we finally got a card with Devour. It has Devour 1, which means as it comes into play, you may sacrifice any number of creatures, which is why the token generation in red in this set. The creature comes into play with that many 1/1 counters on it. However, Caldera Hellion also deals 3 damage to each creature, which means you need to devour at least one thing or it'll kill itself. But yeah, as long as you devour one thing, and presumably you'd probably just sack your board to the Hellion, and 3 damage to everything is probably going to take out most of your opponent's stuff, especially in a limited environment. And then you've got just this big old body on the board. Obviously, you would not. So on Crack-a-Pack, Graham very frequently is like opening stuff that is not draft packs, but he'll still be like, if we were drafting this collector booster, you know, that sort of thing. And obviously you really wouldn't be drafting tournament packs, although it would be really interesting to see if somebody could come up with a way to do it. Granted, I think most tournament packs now cost quite a lot of money, but like the only reason I bought that because it was on sale. I don't know. From a value standpoint, Ad Nauseam. I don't even need to look it up, but I guarantee you Ad Nauseam is the most expensive card in the set, or in that pack. Maybe I'll edit in the prices right here. I don't know yet. And I don't have a James on tech. Well, James is just on tech. I can't remember the name of the person who does the editing. He usually thanks them each episode. Anyway, let's move on to that other thing. So this is the Dragon's Hoard. So the idea of this, like I said, it's kind of a blind box thing. You get a pack, non-English booster pack. However, it is Like, that's original Ravnica City of Guilds, which is pretty awesome. But then you get, God, what did it say? Like 4 to 8 cards that are curated. They're supposed to be of some value. They like the average value or something for a silver Dragon's Hoard is like $70. I don't remember, something like that, because you have a chance at getting good stuff. And they really pitch that there could be a revised dual land in here. I'm sure there won't be, but who knows? But you know what? Let's go ahead and start with. I hate opening packs like this, by the way. There we go. I actually really hate it. Normally I open my packs by using a pair of scissors. Okay, let's see here. Do we have? That's just. Okay, it looks like there's no ad cards or art cards or anything. I'm not even going to attempt to figure out what the cards are, like in English. I do not know. I do love Ravnica. I don't know anybody who plays Magic who doesn't love Ravnica to some degree. It was a great idea. We need to stop going back there. We need to stop fixating on characters from Ravnica, please. But no, Ravnica is great. Here we've got a 1 blue, 1/1 Ladino Fada. Guessing that's a fairy. Vor? Flying? Yeah, I don't know. Escuridao Pegajosa? Because J would be, if this, assuming this is. Oh, it's a good old black enchant creature. They get --. Elemental Espinosa. Espinosa? It's an elemental. Elemental, it's the same thing in Spanish as it is in English. So, a 5-mana 4/4, but it has some sort of effect to create a token. Saproling, I presume. Commando de Ordrun. 3 in a red for a 4/1 Minotauro. Soldado. Minotaur Soldier, I'm guessing. Yeah, because there's the white, so it's Boros. Previne o proximo 1 punto de dano que serio. Prevent 1 damage to itself? Oh, it's not a tap. It's just pay 1 white. So yeah, it can prevent 1 damage to itself. Till end of turn? Prevent the next 1 damage. That's probably it. Patrouille Nocturna? Patrol something patrol. Human soldier. Initiata. Well, Vigilancia is vigilance. Huh. Initiativa? Maybe that's first strike? First strike vigilance? That makes sense for a Boros card. Chuva de Brasas? Oh! This is like deal 1 damage to each creature? And each player? I think so. I almost thought it was a Stone Rain at first, but it's not that. Carecia da Dryade? Druid? Dryad? Something Dryad? 4 green for a Magicka Instantania. So an instant. Something about 1 damage. You can pay white. Do something else, yeah. Dromedario Rakapura. It's a Besta. It's a beast. 1/5 beast. When it enters, gain 1 life. I think that's what that says. Disintegrador de Cerebros. Disintegrate the mind? Like, because it's like Cerebros, like cerebellum or cerebral. It's like cerebral disintegration. Maybe that's it. 3 black, black. Fatico. So that's got to be just a sorcery, right? Destroy. Huh. Is this just destroy a creature and it can't regenerate? Huh. And then it has, well, transmute a cow. So it's transmute. Or, was it called transmute? I'm assuming that's the Dimir thing where you could... No, because that didn't work like that. So that's... Yeah, I'm not sure. Cataphaca Tropega. I do love Golgari. 1 black green zombie planta. So zombie plant. Sacrifice it. And put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control. And it has Excavate. What is it called? Excavaccio. Or Excavaccio. 3. So it's like excavation, presumably. Excavate. But I don't think that's... Is that Dredge? Was Dredge the first Golgari mechanic? It's like you can remove 3 cards from your graveyard to put this back in your hand rather than drawing? Something like that. Ooh, Transluminante. It's a Dryad something creature. You can pay white, sacrifice it. You get a 1/1 spirit. And I don't know what the rest of the text is supposed to be telling me. Consecrao Relampago? Sorry, I'm probably butchering these pronunciations really badly. Hey, I'm not even going to try. Ooh! Oh, this is Golgari Germination, which it mostly just says anyway. Oh, God, I should know more of these cards off the top of my head. Control, blah, blah, blah. It's an enchantment. Something about when a creature you control dies, you get a 1/1 sapling? Lobo. It's a vanilla creature. This is easy. It's a Lobo Vigia. A green, white, 3/3 Lobo. I think that's Wolf. And it has flavor text. So it's just a 2-mana 3/3. And our rare, which is in foil, is a Baffo de Furia. 2 red enchantment aura. Enchant a creature you control. And then when it does combat damage, you can sacrifice this. Or sacrifice the creature. And if you do something... Oh, they're additional de combat. So you can get an additional combat phase? Woof. Ooh. So that was interesting. Okay, but here's the real, at least to me, this is kind of the real meat and veg of this. Is let's see what we get. Curious, will these be... What? Okay, hold on a second. Let's do this. Because this very first card is actually Last Chance. What set symbol is that? A star? Just a star on the wonk. It's printed like a portal card. Was there a portal set that was a star? I don't remember. There's Last Chance. Red, sorcery. Take another turn after this one. You lose the game at the end of that turn. That's nutty. That's a good card. Like, just full stop. A Last Chance card is, not going to sneeze at that. Whoa. It's in foil as well. Micaias the Unhallowed. It's a mythic. 3 black for a 5/5. Can you see that? Yeah, there we go. For a 5/5 zombie cleric with Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. And other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. That's nothing to sneeze at. All right, next card is... Oh, hey, Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. One of those cards with that crazy escape mechanic, which was maybe ended up being a little too much. It's another mythic. He's just a black-red for a 6/6 Elder Giant. When it ETBs, sacrifice it unless it escaped. Whenever it ETBs or attacks, each opponent discards a card. Then each opponent who didn't discard a non-land card this way loses 3 life. I actually have a theoretical deck this is going to have to go into. And the escape cost is black, red, red. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. Because, yeah, the escape thing is that when it's in your graveyard, you then pay the escape cost and you play them from the graveyard. They were all pretty strong, but it was Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath was like the super busted one. Oh, hello, Azuri Claw of Progress. Oh, that is some nice foiling right there. What is that symbol? This must have been from some kind of precon? I'm not sure. 2 green blue for a 3/3 elf warrior. Legendary. Whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an experience counter. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X 1/1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is the number of EXP counters you have. Huh. And that was it. So I got 4 cards, which is like the minimum, I think. Maybe it was 3, but wow, last chance though. Huh. I'm definitely going to actually have to look up what these were worth. Here, maybe I'll like put the prices above them here. Okay, I have no idea what the prices were. And I'm not actually going to look it up before I end the video. So that will just be purely in editing if I even do it. Yeah, so that was... Was that worth the money I spent on it? Probably not. Well, saying that ad nauseum is probably worth some money. And these cards are probably worth some money, especially that last chance. I'm thinking that might actually be worth some money. I'm not sure. I don't try to crack Magic for value anyway. That's a bad idea. That is the house is going to win when you try to do that, no matter what you see from some YouTube channels. The house is always going to win that, so don't bother. As some folks are wont to say, buy singles. Just buy the singles you want for the deck you want to play, period. But it was fun to revisit, to like actually open some Alara cards again. I really love Alara block. And I was just super curious about this Dragon's Horde thingy. So I'm not super stoked on getting the non-English packs. I mean, it's interesting for sure, but and of course they're all like older packs, so they're kind of like, you know, they want to give people older packs, but it would make the blind box way more expensive to do it in English. To do those packs in English, I mean, they probably also just kind of have non-English stuff bumming around that it's difficult to sell to Card Kingdom's primarily English-speaking customer base. So, yeah, that's all though. I'm just having fun with this. So, I've been Jason. Nobody's on tech. I'm the editor. Sometimes, if I think about editing, ever. And I also put the videos up. Sometimes Ronaldo does. Depends on where we were filming, actually. And otherwise, I hope you all do well, and see ya.